So, Crazy Cat Guy Amir is definitely something. Now, this is a setup that I've been playing over on my stream for the last few days, and I've been really enjoying it. Now, with Warframe 99, it gave us a new aura mod called Summoner's Wrath that allows us to mess about with minion builds like my recent Necros video on a more powerful Shield of Shadows, or you could use Caliban Summons or Korra's Venari, Atlas's Rumblers, and so on. Companions and summoned minions basically deal 75% more damage with this aura mod. But what about the Crazy Cat Guy Amir setup? What about a Beast Mancer build? Amir with 8 pets at any given time, zipping around everywhere, killing everything. So this was a meme build for Volt that showed up in game about 7 or 8 months ago, along with Inros's rework, a speed Volt with 5 sand cavats that are self-replicating and keep running around killing everything while crowd controlling everything with the Scarab Swarm effect as well, and also stripping armor, even more so if you have got 2 green shards on. But now it deals even more damage because of this aura mod. Now, I do originally remember this showing up on Reddit, this setup, and then I think some smaller channels showcased it as well, but I'm not sure exactly where it, I guess, originated from, so credit where credit is due. It has been in the community for about 8 months now. Now, this is a setup that requires 3 or even 4 augments depending on what way you want to mod your Volt, so it can leave you pretty fragile because you won't have a lot for survivability. Now, the 4 mods that are absolutely needed for this are the Summoner's Wrath Aura for the 75% bonus companion and summoned minion damage buff. There is Shock Trooper, which is a Volt augment that adds electric damage to Volt's abilities, and it buffs teammates, including your summoned cats. Then there is the Shocking Speed Aura, which is another Volt augment that makes Volt and your Sand Cavats emit a massive electrical pulse whenever they are running around, which they're going to be doing a lot of. Then, of course, you have the Desiccation's Curse augment, which is an Inros augment that spawns those Sand Cavats whenever you perform a finisher on an enemy that is affected by that Desiccation ability. Now, these 4 mods bounce off one another. When you cast Desiccate on an enemy with Volt and then complete a finisher on them, it will spawn 1 Sand Cavat. Then, when you cast Shocking Speed, that Sand Cavat will gain the Shocking Speed Aura, which will pulse around the cat in a large radius and also increase the cat's range for that Scarab Swarm crowd control effect and that armor strip. It will also give that cat bonus electric damage, whereas before, the Shock Trooper augment combined the electric damage from that into the corrosive that the Cavat had and increased it that way. Now, the cat will deal electric and corrosive. So with the combination of these 3 augments, your summoned cat or summoned Cavat will be spreading Scarab Swarm. It will be dealing more damage because of the electric bonus that Shock Trooper is giving it, as well as having a larger area of effect because of Shocking Speed. And the cats themselves, as they continue to get kills, will self-replicate, which means when one cat dies from its duration running out, another cat will almost instantly take its place, depending on enemy density, up to a maximum of 5 cats at any given time. Now, on top of having the 5 Sand Cavats that are spawning in, you will also, of course, have your own companion, whichever one you choose it to be. Beast companions like the Cavats or maybe your Kubru of choice. For me, I've been using my Sunica because it can go off and it can hunt down Eximus units, since they are going to be my only real issue with a setup like this, because Eximus units can't be crowd controlled and everything else in Volt's kit for this build will lock down entire rooms except for those Eximus. So of course my Sunica is going to take care of those. Now the big question I wanted to ask you guys is about Duplex Bond. Now I know that the pet clones from Duplex Bond aren't counted as summoned minions and therefore can't benefit from the Summoner's Wrath Aura. However, does the game still count those clones as companions and not summoned minions? Because if it does, then that would explain why my clones are still dealing the same damage as my normal Sunica, which would mean that they are still benefiting from that Summoner's Wrath Aura and it's counting them as a companion and not as a summoned minion, which if it is counting, then that's kind of Warframe to a T, isn't it? Now, to make this setup work, you are going to need to subsume Inros's Desiccation onto Volt's 3rd ability, replacing his electric shield. Now, Volt's 1st ability and his 2nd ability are essential for this setup because of their augments, and you can't replace his 4th ability because it then breaks the Desiccation's Curse augment, and the game then thinks that you've over-subsumed Inros's 4th for some reason, and it means that you can only summon in less Sand Cavats, whereas if you put it on his 3rd, you will get those 5 that you want. Now, like I said earlier, however you want to mod your Volt outside of having those augments is entirely up to you. You can mod him preferably for power, strength and range. You can keep your duration at normal or at the base level if you want to, and then you can pop on some mods for either shield gating or for survivability. However, you can also use melee weapons to, I guess, boost that survivability with the Incarnate Magister, which is what I've been using because its heavy attacks will heal me while also doing a lot, and I mean a lot, of damage in those slam attacks. You could also choose to use the Racted Dark Dagger as your melee weapon because doing damage to enemies that are afflicted by radiation will also restore your shield on your Volt and give you overshield. You could also use the Gerudo for healing, or you can choose to use his Capacitance Augment on your Volt, which will give you that kind of freedom whenever your shield breaks to instantly cast his Fort ability, which of course will give you a lot of overshield, and then you can just go again. But again, if he uses Capacitance Augment, then that means your build has got 4 augments on it, which leaves you with very minimal wiggle room for anything else in your build if you want to go for power strength. So you're going to rely on arcanes to boost your effectiveness. Now, this is my Volt Crazy Cat setup. I have got Summoner's Wrath for that 75% bonus companion and summoned minion damage. I've also got Power Drift for a chance to resist the knockdown more than anything. I do need to put another former on this and maybe put Prime Sure-Footed in there. Equilibrium and Archon Stretch are my sources of energy regen. Of course, Archon Stretch is constantly going to be proccing because you're using Volt, and Equilibrium is going to be playing off the energy orbs and health orbs that my companion is going to be forcing to drop on the ground. Then I've got Shock Trooper, Desiccation's Curse, and of course I've got Shocking Speed, which are the 3 augments that you need for this setup. I've also gone for Capacitance simply to allow me that little bit, I guess, of survivability to cast that whenever I can. However, you can use whatever you want here. Overextended is going to give me much more range, Blind Rage, much more power strength, and then it basically means that my Discharge has got a 47 meter range for crowd control and for the Capacitance augment to kick in. I've also got Shocking Speed, which the radius around my cats is going to be 7 meters. Then I've got bonus damage of shock. Now this is going to be amplified even more for the simple reason I'm using Arcane Camisado, which is giving my minions 20% movement speed, but it's also given me bonus of 60% power strength, which is going to be proccing pretty much instantly whenever you cast an ability. Now whenever you cast an ability, this will reset down to 0 bonus ability strength. However, your minions will get that right up to 60 straight away. Then I've got Arcane Aegis for a little bit more survivability whenever my shield breaks. Now this is an incredibly, I guess, glass cannon styled build where at higher levels you will take a lot of damage and you will bloody die. So whether you want to get rid of Capacitance, whether you want to go full on, I guess, shield gating here instead is entirely up to you. I would probably recommend that. But again, your frame, your game, mod whoever the hell you want, go nuts. Now, this is my Kubro setup, and it is a pretty standard setup, with the exception I've got Duplex Bond in here just for additional clones, but when clones kill some of these enemies, I'm going to have a 50% chance to get energy orbs. Then I've got Synth Deconstruct, which is also going to give me a 25% chance to get health orbs, and since I am using Equilibrium, these two are going to help my Warframe, I guess, survive that little bit longer. Then I've got Momentous Bond on here, which is going to allow me to give 120% bonus elemental damage to a companion for 30 seconds, but it's also going to allow me to revive my companion if it dies. But the big one more than anything, since I am using a slam weapon, is Tandem Bond, where my companion melee hits are going to increase my combo count by 6. So this is going to allow my slam attacks with my Magister and Cannon to hit that little bit harder every time I come down on top of the enemies. Now, my Sancti Magister in Cannon is pretty much the default Sancti Magister in Cannon build that most people have. Basically, once it evolves into its Incarnate form, it's going to have a higher initial combo, it's going to deal more damage, it's going to have a larger slam radius, and it's going to deal more crit chance, or have more crit chance and deal more crit damage as well. Now, in terms of modding it, I've pretty much just modded it for the, I guess, the default slam build within the community right now. Now, the unique trait of this weapon is that it will heal yourself and teammates, including pets, for 5% of the damage that is done inside 15 meters, but it's also given me a 20%, I guess, reduction or resistance to status effects from hitting me whenever I have this melee equipped. So I've gone for corrosive, but I've also got melee exposure on here for corrosive. You could go for melee duplicate if you wanted. You could get rid of this and put in blood rush. Entirely up to you how you want to mod this weapon. You're basically going to be using this with your pets and then just slamming down on top of as many enemies as possible. And since the Magister has got, I think, the largest radius for slam attacks in the game, it is definitely the one worth choosing. But that's pretty much the crazy cat guy Amir setup. Let me know in the comment section below if you've tried it out or what way you've modded him, if you've decided to go for this type of a build. Have a great day, have a great week, and as always, thanks for watching.